Improvised Intelligence is sponsored by the amazing people over at Chop Chili. If you've been a long time listener to the podcast, you know that this is my favorite brand of chili here in New Mexico. Pretty much put it on every meal that I can. They've got red chili, green chili. My personal favorite is this blend of the red and the green. I think this stuff is phenomenal. They also have frozen bags of green chili that you can order directly from their website at chopchilico.com. You can also find them in stores around the state of New Mexico at Sprouts, Albertsons, Farmers Country Market, John Brooks, Keller's Farm Store, Lowe's Market. And you can also find them in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Hobbs, Gallup, Tucumcari, and for all my friends in Texas, they are in El Paso. Again, chopchilico.com. Go get yourself some amazing chili. Now back to the podcast. Improvised Intelligence is sponsored. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Improvised Intelligence. I'm your host, Noah Vargas. It is good to be back. Wild time to talk about right now. I was going to make sure I get some audio in my ears. Let's make sure we're here. Let's see. All right, sounds good to me. What's up, everybody? Thank you for watching. If you're tuning in live, thank you for listening to the episode after the fact, if that is your choice. I understand that I need to upload some of the live ones to Spotify. I've gotten a couple messages about that. Yeah, I'll get to that. We're going to get to today's topic, or tonight's topic, I guess. Running a little late today. Had some issues technically. It's 6:30 at night in Mexico time. Running a little bit late. We'll get to tonight's topic. Just real quick, just out the gate, I hope you all had a very good Christmas. I hope you got to see your family, spend time with your loved ones. I hope you had a good New Year's Eve and a good New Year's Day. And if you happen to be in the corporate world, I hope you enjoyed that small fuck-off incubation period. What's it called? A little incubation period between Christmas, the day after Christmas, and then New Year's Day, where you just get to fuck off and act like you're working. If you had the privilege of having that, I hope that went well for you. Got a lot to cover today. Let's see. That was just a bit loud in my ears. I don't know if that was coming through to you guys, but that was a bit loud to me. It was a fan for my computer. It's turning into a dinosaur. Okay. Just real quick before we get into tonight's topic too. I didn't post any of the end of 2025 stuff. No, I'm not talking shit or no shade towards anybody that did. I didn't want to Fed post like that. And I post about my year so much throughout the year that it just felt like, not that I don't think I'm huge or anything, but I just didn't want to come off like I'm bragging, and I don't like posting if it's not genuine. You know what I mean? But to those of you that are listening to this now, or you listen to it later, I've told people in person my praise and thank yous and my love. Thank you if you're watching, if you have been watching the show, or you come out to shows to watch me do stand up and all that stuff. Thank you very much. 2025 was absolutely fucking insane. I post about it all over my social media. If you want the nitty and gritty of it, you can go look at it there. I don't want to come off as self-aggrandizing, but 2025 was fucking great. Fucking huge shout out to AJ De Leon for winning. Good buddy of mine, friend of the show, good friend of mine, great comic in Albuquerque, won best comic of the year for Albuquerque. That's pretty crazy. He's 2.5 years in. I think he's pretty well deserving of that, even though some people might disagree. But it doesn't matter because they don't watch this fucking show anyway. So thank you. Big shout out to him. We got to go on the road a few times. Went out to Austin, went out to LA. Supposed to go out to Denver together, but that didn't happen. But yeah, Austin was fucking sick. Shout out to all the homies out in Austin. You know, friend of the show, you've seen her on the show a couple of times. Allison, she got us on a couple of shows out there. That's been fucking great. And then we went out to Denver, or not Denver, I'm sorry. We went out to LA and got to meet up with a friend that we actually made on a show on Allison's show in Austin. Shout out to Nitty. Very funny guy, regular at the, is he a regular? I think he's just a door guy, unpaid regular. I don't know. He's something at the, he's at the Comedy Store doing cool shit. He's been on the publicized Don't Tell like specials. Great guy, funny dude. Nitty Sack on Instagram. Go give him a follow. Ali Woe on Instagram. Go give her a follow. Big helps to both myself and AJ this year. He hooked up AJ, got him the Comedy Store. I got to do potluck there, and then I got pulled for set of the night the following Wednesday, so that was a lot of fun. The Comedy Store was fucking sexy, I'm not gonna lie. Very fun to perform there. I got to perform in the belly room. AJ got to perform in the OR, so that was pretty crazy. And then while I was out in LA, I got to do the open mic for the Laugh Factory. That was cool. Got called back to audition for the club. And obviously I didn't make the audition. Like I didn't pass the audition because if I did, it'd be all over my fucking social medias. And I wouldn't stop talking about it. But in my point of view, I'm 2.5 years into stand-up and I got called back to audition for a major club. I consider that a win. So in 2025 has been a huge year for the podcast. I didn't post these, like I said, on any socials, but, and I didn't even know that this was a thing, but for Spotify, there's an app called Creators of Spotify or Spotify for Creators, whatever. And let's see if it still shows me. Let's see. Cause it was showing me like a Wrapped for like all my stats and shit. Let's see if it still shows me my stats. And if it doesn't, it's fine. Okay, it's fine. But my stats were fucking crazy. I think I pulled it up on my laptop. Like the viewership on Spotify went up like 300%. I gained like 75 something followers or whatever. But it was really cool. Really cool to see that there is some kind of following on Spotify. Still trying to figure out how to grow a following in general. I want to get around to posting a trailer and like promoting it and shit, but damn, I've just been busy, very busy. So thank you to all of you that are listening. Haven't read ads for the show in years, so all of this has been organic, and this past year in 2025 has been the biggest for the show yet, and for my stand-up. So thank you very much. Last bit of housekeeping, coming up on the 24th, I'll be posting it after this episode. I'll be running ads. AJ, if you're watching, I'm sorry, it's been busy. AJ De Leon is throwing a AJ and the Homies show, basically, and friends, but AJ and the Homies show. On the 24th, it's going to be at Two Cranes, the small little restaurant bar that has like a little private venue area room, real intimate, real tiny. Truth be told, I think we're only going to be able to get like 30 people in there. Maybe 40, 45 if we want to break a fire code. This show is going to be free. I'm pushing for the following shows to be at least $5 or $8 at the door because for some reason, there's like a marketing thing that people that are smarter than me are able to explain. It helps get people in the door for making it like a small dollar ticket fee than a free show. So this will be the only free one. We have a great lineup. Just off the top of my head, AJ is going to be headlining because I'm forcing him to, and he's good. I think he should be doing 25 to 30 minutes at the best comic of Albuquerque. He should be doing it, and he's got the time. I've seen it all together. It's very good. Great comic. So AJ is going to be headlining. I won't be hosting this time, so that'll be nice. And it's going to be me. Jake Otero's on there. Cardo Matt is on there. Got a couple of comics from Austin coming in, and I think Savannah Holder is going to host. So that'll be interesting to see. I've never seen her host before. So yeah, it'll be a great show. Come out. I think it's going to be like at 8:30 probably, ish. Great time. Great staff. Been there once. Very fun time. Okay. So Let's get to tonight's topic, shall we? Actually, before we do that, I'm going to promote my own show because I suck at promoting my own podcast. So, just one more time, if you do want to support the show, excuse me. If you do want to support the show, please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know your thoughts. Again, as always, the live chat does not save. So if you want to have a lasting impact on the podcast episode going forward, please leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, all of that stuff. Tell me I'm great. Tell me I'm an idiot. I really don't care all that much. Okay. Let's see. I suck at this. I'm sorry. Just been so fucking busy today, man. Okay, so let's get to tonight's topic. So, as I'm sure a lot of you know, and obviously based off of the title, the president of Venezuela got captured this morning by United States forces. And we're going to go through the timeline of basically what happened. I do have a couple of things saved that I want to go over, just a little bit of notes. I'm going to give my thoughts on it. Then I have a secondary topic I want to go over as well. No notes on that, just kind of things I've been seeing on the internet that I think are interesting on the topic. But we'll get to that later. We'll spend maybe 15 or 20 minutes on that. Okay, so at about 12:45, 1 in the morning, New Mexico time, we started attacking Venezuela. Now, like I said, we're going to go through the timeline, and I'm just going to give you my thoughts as I remember them going through it, and then we'll wrap it up with what happened and then the after effects and what they may be. So at about 12:45, 1 in the morning, New Mexico time, we started attacking Venezuela. And immediately, one of the first things that was getting reported is that there were Chinooks in the air. And these are Army helicopters that are primarily used to transport special operations because these special Chinooks, I forget the nomenclature, I'm not going to look it up right now, is for a unit called the Night Stalkers. These guys are the top tier aviators in our military as far as transporting of troops go, fast roping in and out of targets. And Chinooks were flying in. They were immediately identified as the Night Stalkers, and that's when it became clear from the jump, even though there were airstrikes happening, there were Apache helicopters that were seen. There's a lot of videos of Apache helicopters firing upon military installations. I believe there's a video going around of the Apache helicopters firing upon the Venezuelan Minister of Defense's home. But from the Chinooks coming in and the Night Stalkers being identified, it was very clear that this was JSOC, and more than likely, and it did turn out to be, Delta Force was coming in. Now, for those of you who don't know who Delta Force is the top tier it's what your Call of Duty character, if you're good at Call of Duty, is based on. All right, these guys are meant to do the impossible and then some, and that's pretty much what they did this morning, last night, however you want to call it. So, we have airstrikes happening on military installations. From what I could tell after reading the timeline, it appears they first attacked the surface-to-air missile systems, the few that Venezuela had, all of which were given to them by the Russian government, which is interesting. Not surprising, but interesting. So they attack the surface-to-air missile systems, and then they proceed to attack the capital. This is the capital city. A lot of military installations were there. And then they started attacking tarmacs on the major airport, started attacking the airport, clearing out they also were clearing out the Venezuelan airspace. I'd imagine just through their own presence and dominance. There's nothing the Venezuelan Air Force, if they even have an Air Force, there's nothing they have that can take those on. So as the timeline is progressing, there is now reports that they are starting to attack the Minister of Defense, or Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Defense, one of those two, for Venezuela, started attacking his home. It was unsure whether or not he was attacked. Eventually, he was confirmed to be alive, and as this was being reported that he was alive, this is probably about 2:30 in the morning, New Mexico time, it is then being reported that U.S. Marines were being beached on the surrounding Caribbean islands. And that's when I started getting worried, if I'm being honest with you. Because the moment that you see JSOC and the Delta Force guys coming in, it's like, okay, we see what we're doing here. I thought, I'll just be perfectly honest with you, I thought they were going in to kill Maduro. I thought they were just going to cut the head off the snake and take out Maduro. That's what I thought. Thankfully, I was wrong. They were going in on a capture mission. They end up capturing Maduro and his wife. Now, okay, so we'll get to that later. But they went in to capture Maduro and his wife. It does get confirmed later on that the Minister of Defense, Minister of Foreign Affairs, whatever he is alive. He releases a statement. The Venezuelan government releases a statement. And they're basically, it's a giant call to arms. They're saying that it's the Organization of American Nations, right? Yeah, the OAN. That sounds right. Calling upon them and the United Nations to immediately meet and condemn these attacks from America, calling them imperialist, fascists, and oligarchs. I'm not too sure how far off they are on a couple of those adjectives. Then calling for not only the military, but the civilians of Venezuela to band together and repel the incoming attack. Well, maybe 2 minutes after that came out, reports started coming out that not just civilians, understandably, but Venezuelan military began evacuating. So there wasn't a whole lot of pushback, and we know that now in the aftermath. So they begin their assault. Now, there were reports, I didn't see any pictures, but there were reports of the Marines being on the ground. They end up, we don't know if that's for sure or not, but what we do know is that JSOC and Delta managed to get in there, snag President Maduro, and exfil him out, seemingly unharmed. Now, there were reports of American aircraft getting shot down. There were reports of of the gunfights happening and Americans getting hit. And that's what I was really afraid of, to be honest with you, was, I mean, do I agree with a ground force invasion of Venezuela? Of course not, and I'm glad that's not what actually happened. But, you know, I'm not too worried about I'm not going to claim that I know all the information about Venezuela, because I certainly fucking don't. But what I will say is that I wasn't so much worried about the Venezuelan military. I was worried about the Venezuelan cartels, because the cartels that operate inside Venezuela are much more armed than the military is. And if for all of you that have seen Civil War, seen the final scene of that, where it's the Battle of Washington, D.C., that's pretty much what I was expecting. And I was waiting for the news that would surely come afterwards of like a squad of Marines getting gunned down by RPK fire. Thankfully, that didn't happen. And at the end of this, they end up exfilling Maduro and his wife. And the only damage that American forces sustained during this operation was one of the Chinooks got hit by something, and it managed to fly out of Venezuelan airspace and land on some kind of carrier or some kind of boat. It landed on something and was able to get repaired. Nobody was hurt. Absolutely no American forces were hurt during this. If you look back at and there were no accidents either, which is great. If you look back at the Osama bin Laden raid, when they went to go kill him, as the first helicopter was coming in, it actually crashed on the compound. So stuff like that does happen. I'm sure at least some of you watching this are familiar with the American military. There are a lot of accidents that happen even in training. So this is, it's the real world. Shit happens. What are you going to do? But, it is what it is. So they end up getting him out. No sustained damage to any American forces. So that's a positive. And and what I think was interesting too was the day that this happened. So this happened, let's just call it 2:00 in the morning, New Mexico time. The night and day before, so Friday, yesterday, in America, they meaning the Venezuelan government with Maduro, they were meeting with Chinese nationals and dignitaries at the time. I just to be completely honest with you, I didn't look into what they were meeting about, but I saw that they were meeting. And right when I learned that, I was like, oh shit, if we kill a Chinese dignitary, that's going to kick off World War III for surezies. But thankfully, that did not happen. So yeah, that is a positive. Now, let's see if there's any other points that I missed about this happening. I think that's pretty much it. So what I find interesting about this, outside of just whether you agree with it or not, the fact that America has the ability to go into a sovereign nation, kidnap a president and his wife, successfully exfil them inside what, 4 hours, 3 hours, in the middle of the night, going in loud, destroying what defense systems they had. I'm not saying this is going to happen to China or anything, but the fact we were able to do this with 0 casualties is something of a spectacle, truly. And it speaks to the dedication, training, and professionalism of our American military at its highest tier, truly at its highest tier. And thank God, outside of the obvious, thank God that no American forces were hurt, killed, anything like that, because that blood would have been directly on Trump's hands, and not only would it have been brought up on impeachment, and the door's not exactly closed on that one, but impeachment, he probably would have been brought up on war crimes. So what are you going to do? Success is the best way to, winning cures all. Is that the phrase? Winning cures all? So America won the day on this one. But what I find interesting, and it's not surprising by any, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm surprised. But what I find interesting is the discourse online about this. You obviously have the extreme radical left that's like defending this guy. He never should have been attacked. He never should have been taken, all that kind of stuff. I probably should have said this at the top. Let's make this very clear. I do not feel any sympathy or any kind of like, oh, poor Maduro. I don't feel bad for him at all. He was a ruthless dictator that ruined that country, okay? I feel no sadness for this guy, okay? I feel no sadness. And then on the far right, of course, you have the radicals on the right that are just like, Trump should have done more. They should have leveled the fucking place. They should have killed him and killed his cabinet and blah, 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 right? You have all that. But you have more of the middle. All of the fighting is kind of happening in the middle, which I think is interesting. I'll just speak from my own personal experience. Posting about it on my social media, I'm obviously getting some backlash on it. And I'm getting support where I don't want it from. Let's be perfectly honest there too. I'm getting backlash because, like, let me find my favorite retard comment. Let me find it really quick. This one guy posted something that I thought was just grade A retardation. Oh shit, it's almost at 15,000 views. Well, that's neat. So let me find it. And I think this sums up the far right not knowing what the fuck they're talking about when they're trying to criticize this. Where? Oh, did he delete it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Wait. Okay. White racist liberals are going insane over this. And I commented saying, oh yeah, because that's me, a white racist liberal. And he said, that's true. I'm clearly not a white racist liberal. Obviously, I'm a Hispanic noticing libertarian. Let's put it that way. I'm a Hispanic libertarian who notices. Let's put it that way. But I'm not criticizing this because I like feel bad for Maduro. And I'm not supporting this because I love Trump and I think we need to spread democracy and we need to be the world police. Like, no. And anybody who's saying that needs to get their head out of their ass and realize this is no longer the day after 9/11. All right? That time is gone. It's past. We've gone through the global war on terror. We recognize the absolute fucking travesty that it was and realize the world that we're living in. The only person that's on your side right now is Dick Cheney, and he's more than likely burning in hell. So what are you going to do with that? You know what I mean? Okay. What worries me about this is that leading up to it, and credit where it's due, Jon Stewart of The Daily Show had a great breakdown on his show where he was showing Trump and Hegseth and some other very right Republican congressmen talking about why we need to get after Venezuela. And then he juxtaposed that with like Bush and Dick Cheney and all of the neocons from the early 2000s talking about why we had to go into Iraq. And it's the same exact propaganda. Let's call it what it is. It's the same exact talking points, the same exact propaganda. Oh, it's ISIS, it's Al Qaeda, they're in our hemisphere. We need to spread democracy. We blah 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 blah, blah, all that fucking bullshit, right? Now, all we have to go off of, in my opinion, all we have to go off of is our track record. Now, the reason why, because I'm seeing a lot of people in my comments section, and I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Panama. I know that we went in to get Noriega and get him out of there. I don't know the state of Panama. I don't know how good Panama or how bad Panama is right now. They don't regularly get listed on the top countries in the world. So I can't imagine they're doing phenomenal, but I bet it's a gorgeous place to live. I just don't know a lot about Panama. Sorry, I don't. But the reason I hone in so much on the Iraq comparison is because it's the same people. It's the same stereotype, the same archetype of people, the same kind of people that have been egging us into this Venezuela thing that got us into Iraq. It's the same people. Even the fucking Israelis are involved. And we'll get to that. But even as it was happening, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, oh, well, it's not the Jews. The Jews aren't even, the Israelis aren't even involved in this one. This is just Trump. And by the way, this is totally avoidable. In my opinion, as it stands right now, I thought that this invasion and this taking of Maduro was avoidable because we just don't know the after effects yet, right? I just think it was avoidable. But the Israelis weren't even involved. That's what I was thinking. But of course, time heals all things. Sunlight's the best disinfectant, and the internet went to work, and sure enough, the person... So what they're accusing Maduro of a few things. The most recent is that he was like... He legitimately stole and corrupted this past election, stole it from this lady. That's the first one. They're now bringing up the charges and releasing documents about where they can actually get him on some narco-terrorism stuff. And the third one, and I've got this from Thomas Massey. Let me find it really quick. They've got Maduro in New York City. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I'll try to show the screen, but... They've got Maduro in New York City. But, so what I thought was interesting is there's charges being brought up against him and I believe his wife too, where they're talking about some kind of like fucking some kind of like weapons charges or something. Let me see. I had a screenshot from Thomas Massey. Let me see if I can find it. Where did it go? Oh, did it get fucking deleted? Ah, shit. Let me see if it's on his Twitter. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. I saved it on my Instagram just so I could pull it up on this. And it did not appear. It might have gotten deleted. Okay. Okay, here we go. So, this is from 10 hours ago from Thomas Massey. If this action were constitutionally sound, the Attorney General wouldn't be tweeting that they've arrested the president of a sovereign country and his wife for possessing guns in violation of a 1934 U.S. firearm law. Now, I'm going to go to Pam Bondi. I'm going to go to her Twitter to see if I can actually find the tweet. Let's see. Okay, so this is from Pam Bondi. This is 13 hours ago. Nicolas Maduro, I have not read this yet, so let's see what this says. Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. Nicolas Maduro has been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices against the United States. They will soon face the full wrath of the American justice on American soil in American courts. On behalf of the entire U.S. DOJ, I would like to thank President Trump for having the courage to demand accountability on behalf of the American people, and a huge thank you to our brave military. Okay. That sounds like a whole lot of baloney to me. I'm sure all of you guys have seen this too. Apparently, the most accurate stat on... Because really, when they say narco-terrorism, what they're talking about is the fentanyl coming into America. The way I understand it, and if anybody's listening live, please put this in the chat. If you're listening to this afterwards, please put it in the comments section. DM me, whatever. But the way I understand it is the actual fentanyl, the vast majority that is getting into the United States is getting manufactured in China, sent to Mexico. They taught the Mexicans how to manufacture it and how to put it in the drugs, and then they funnel it up the border. That is how I understand it. And apparently, maybe 10% of the fentanyl is coming from Venezuela. So it seems like they're going for some low-hanging fruit. Now, of course, continuing on the Iraq comparison, why are we actually going into Venezuela as compared to why we actually went into Iraq? The resources. They have oil. They have vast amounts. I'm seeing numbers fluctuating between 300 to 330 to 380 million barrels or some shit of oil. They have crazy amounts of oil refineries and oil reserves. And from what I've been reading, so I guess about 3 weeks ago, there was a leak from the White House where Donald Trump and his administration had approached various American oil companies saying, hey, how would you guys feel? And the way the leak described it is they described it as a vibe check. If that tells you how things are going over there in the old White House. It said, hey, American oil companies, how would you guys feel about us going into Venezuela, taking out Maduro, reclaiming the oil refineries that we built down there? How would you feel about that? And they got a resounding no. Now, according to the general, something like fucking Raising Cane or some shit, it's his nickname or something, I don't know. But according to this guy, they've been training for this operation for months. And what I've been reading today is that Trump did two things on Christmas Day. He gave the green light on this operation and told the Department of War to start getting together and putting the plan together. And then he simultaneously turned around to the American oil companies and said, hey, listen, guys, we're taking these oil refineries and we're capturing Maduro. We have the means to do so. And they believe that they have now, I'm not a legal scholar. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But they believe that they have the legal justification to take him out of his own country. Get with the program. Pretty much is what they told him, and now it all played out this morning the way it played out. So, now we're going in to take all of their resources. Now, the lady that he stole, he meaning Maduro, the lady that he stole the election from, let's pull her up real quick. Let's pull up this gem of a human being. And when you guess, she's a huge Zionist. Her name is what a name. Maria Corina Machado. So, this is from her own words. We are going to listen to her speak. Why don't we? Why don't we listen to her speak, shall we? This is what is probably going to end up being the new leader of Venezuela.
I would like to thank Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
And I promise we one day will have a close relationship between Venezuela and Israel.
I myself look forward to visit the State of Israel as soon as we conquer freedom. We will prevail.
And I can announce this, that our government will move our Israeli embassy to Jerusalem.
So, Conquering freedom is a very poor choice of words, in my opinion. I don't know why you feel like you want to conquer freedom, because what does that even mean, right? We could spend a lot of time on that. I just really don't want to. I have things to do tonight, and quite frankly, I'm fucking hungry. But conquering freedom, that's a little worrisome. And then I would also say that she wants to move the Israeli embassy to Jerusalem. Now, on the face, it's like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But if it wasn't already abundantly clear, the left, the right, whatever, the American government has lost the argument on supporting Israel and why it is a necessity or a whatever the fuck you want to call it. Why it's important we do that. They've lost the argument. They've lost it. So any step that they make, any moves that they take to further that is going to do nothing but damage them. And then on top of that, of course, a huge mandate that Donald Trump had during the campaign getting into office is no new wars. That was a huge, like, people harp on the Epstein files. Personally, I don't think they made the Epstein files a center part of their campaign. They talked about it whenever it came up, that's for sure. But I wouldn't call it like a core tenet, but they certainly talked about it. The most notable being Don Jr. getting up during that Republican rally saying, how is it that my father has these felonies, but we haven't seen anybody from the Epstein files and blah, 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 right? All that shit, right? And obviously this is a great distraction from the Epstein files, which still have not all been released, by the way, but, you know, whatever, I guess. But he was elected on a mandate to end wars. That was one of their huge talking points, that there were no new wars under Donald Trump. Now, there were sustained wars, obviously, but there were no new wars. That was their major claim. That was a major talking point. Like, I was talking to a good friend of mine today, this afternoon, and you know, this is the comparison that I gave him, and maybe it's a bit childish, but it's the one that makes a bit of sense to me because I'm a dork. I have a problem, obviously, with buying more comic books than I have read, and it is looking more likely than not that there will be a few comic books unread in my collection when I die, more than a few, right? But it's like, you know, as a comic book reader and a collector, that you shouldn't be buying more books than you've read. You shouldn't be buying more books when you have a stack, or in my case, shelves. I'm very thankful for my collection, but dear Lord, do I have a lot. You shouldn't be buying books when you have a ton to read already, especially when it takes time to read all of these books, when it takes time to enjoy these books. So, with that being said, when we apply this to Trump, maybe you shouldn't be starting new wars when you haven't finished the ones you already have. We can buy you a new war, like talking like as a child, we can buy you a new war, President Trump, when you've finished your other ones. Maybe let's actually figure out the genocide in Gaza. Let's actually figure out the war in Ukraine. Let's take care of those before we start invading another fucking country. And here's the other thing, too. This is a war very close to us. Now, a lot of people don't think about this, but Puerto Rico is a part of the United States. They're not an official state, obviously, but they are under the jurisdiction of the United States. A lot of people don't know this either. They have an Army National Guard in Puerto Rico. I went to basic training with a couple of guys that were that were getting into the Puerto Rican National Guard. We have a military presence in Puerto Rico, obviously. Puerto Rico is right next to Venezuela. Venezuela is a lot closer to the U.S. than the fucking Middle East is. It's a lot closer to America than fucking China is. So here we are, right? Now we're starting conflict with countries that are right next to us. Now, do they have the ability to hit America? No, they don't. But now we have to keep some kind of defenses in the waters outside of Venezuela so that their allies, Russia, China, North Korea, so that they can't supply them to hit us. It's just another problem that we don't need. And more importantly, I'm going to say more importantly because human life is the most important thing, but secondary to human life and the potential cost of human life, we can't afford another war. I mean, call me crazy. Call me crazy, but we cannot afford another war. We're what? 36, 37 trillion in debt and rising. The number one bill when we pay our debt is the interest on the debt. What are we doing? And again, we look back on our history. Look, all we have to judge this on is our track record. Our regime changes have been not successful, and all they've done is destabilize the region in which we do the regime change, and that place is left worse off than it was when they were there. I'm not saying that Maduro's a good guy. I'm not saying Saddam Hussein was a good guy. I'm not saying Gaddafi was a good guy. But since they have been removed from power or killed, the regions in which they reigned over have gotten systemically worse. Systemically worse. And correct me if I'm wrong, but now granted, now all these people hate their dictators, right? When Gaddafi was removed, I believe his carcass was fucking sodomized in the streets, right? So the Libya was already a bunch of fucking savages as it was. But you see my point, right? These places are just destabilized and are left to ruin. And then, since the Republicans are the fucking anti-immigration and they're the anti-illegals camp, and we've already been seeing all these issues that are getting exploited up in Michigan or Minnesota, wherever the fuck it's happening, with all the daycares, the fucking dirty-ass skinny Somalians, right? Now, if this continues, we are going to get an influx of refugees from Venezuela or surrounding areas. Either the Venezuelans are going to come to America or they're going to go to other countries, and then those citizens are going to try to make their way to America. That's just how this shit happens. Look at the fucking UK. This is how this happens. I just don't get it. And then another thing I actually wanted to touch on, I just reminded myself about the people saying, oh, that they're celebrating. They're celebrating that this guy's got removed. I'm sure they're happy. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I am sure that they are happy that a dictator got removed from power by the world superpower. Okay, I have no doubt in my mind. I have zero doubt in my mind that there are a significant amount of people in Venezuela that are very happy about this. However, in my opinion, in my very humble opinion, I think that it is a very bad rubric in which to judge efficacy. Okay? It is a very bad rubric to judge whether or not this is a good idea, whether or not this should happen, so on and so forth. All right? This is not a good rubric. Let's just take America, for example. Okay, we're obviously a very divided people politically. I try to stay on the lighter side where I think that a lot of people are coming more to the middle, but we still have extremely, extremely loud voices on the left and the right that hate each other's guts. Let's just do a thought experiment, okay? If a foreign country decided to come in and kidnap Trump, yank him out of the White House. Now, obviously, it's not possible. It's just not going to fucking happen. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. I hope. But let's say they decide to yank Trump, or they go assassinate Trump. Now, in my opinion, if Donald Trump was assassinated, that is a net negative for the country. I agree with next to nothing that this guy is doing. I think he's already done things that are considered impeachable. Personally, I think he's done things that are considered impeachable. Does that mean I want him dead? No, not at all. I just think he should be I've said this so many times, both on and off the podcast, they just need to get this fucking guy in front of a congressional committee and get him under the threat of perjury, personally. But he's done some things, in my opinion, that are under the category of possibly impeachable offenses, okay? If he was assassinated, if he was taken out of the country, you would have a significant amount of people in this country hooping and hollering and cheering that he was either killed or taken. That does not mean it was a good thing. And quite frankly, I think there's a decent argument that if Trump was impeached, his successor, J.D. Vance, would not be much better. That's why we have to wait this shit out until the election in 2027 going to 2020 or 2028. In 2028. We have to wait this out until then, in my opinion. So just because people are celebrating that Maduro was taken out of power by the United States does not mean that it was a good thing. Does not mean that it should have happened. That's all I'm saying. That is a horrible rubric to grade on. And at least from what I'm seeing, I'm not saying I'm getting a holistic picture because no one ever does on social media. But from what I'm seeing, that is what the argument is being hinged on. A lot of people, except for the government, obviously, a lot of people have abandoned the whole narco-terrorism things. I think they know the numbers show otherwise. But they're saying, oh, look at the people. He's a bad guy. He got taken out, blah, 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 blah. That does not mean that this needed to happen. And that does not mean that it's a good thing. Another example. Well, other examples, I guess. There are dictators throughout the world. North Korea, China, all throughout the continent of Africa. Dictators everywhere. By that rubric, by that grading system, should we then be deploying our tier one, our top guys, all around the country and just start collecting dictators like they're Pokemon cards? That's my question then, if you're saying that this should have happened. Should we be doing that? Or can we be honest with ourselves and understand that the only reason that Maduro was taken out of power by the Americans is that we can have their resources and Israel's getting their cut too, as always. As always. Can we just be honest with ourselves now? Can we finally, all of us, start being honest about this? That's all I'm saying. You know? I don't think it's that big of a logical jump or a stretch to make, personally. I don't think that's a huge stretch, a huge ask of the average human mind. It's to just be honest with ourselves and understand that this probably shouldn't have happened. This is probably going to lead to destabilization in the region. And we're going to have a military presence, judging off of our track record. We're going to have a military presence in this region for the foreseeable future. I mean, just look at the Afghan pullout, right? After that, the Ukrainian war immediately starts happening. We have to go send money and keep the war machine turning there. Gaza ramps up. I'm not saying that the Afghan pullout led to Gaza, but, you know, wherever they don't let a, what is it? What's the phrase? Don't let a catastrophe or don't let chaos go to waste or something like that. But then we have to go create our own. Obviously, we have to. Feel free to tell me if I'm wrong. I would now look. Now let me just be completely honest too. Everything that I'm displaying here, I would love to be wrong about. I would love it. I would love it. If this fucking lady that gets put in there is some benevolent fucking democratic leader or whatever and does right by the people of Venezuela and they start thriving throughout the years and we have a good partnership with them and it's all hands and roses and we can fucking lock hands and sing kumbaya and fucking jerk each other off and we're all good with the Venezuelans, all right? I would love that personally, especially because if we did get Venezuela on our side and they actually got their shit together and we didn't have to fucking, in some capacity, occupy that country in a military fashion, if that didn't happen, then BRICS starts to fall apart and that is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, I am not on the side of Russia, China, North Korea, whatever, because they were hinging on, I don't know everything about BRICS, and if you don't know what BRICS is, it's basically this allegiance of our adversaries coming together to try to destabilize the American dollar, even though we're doing that pretty damn well in ourselves, But losing Venezuela would be a big punch to that. I understand that, and that would be a good thing. Because at the end of the day, as you all know, and if you don't know, this is your first episode, just know that I am America first. That's all I care about. Listen, I'm sure there are great people in Venezuela. I'm sure the grand majority of people in Venezuela are great people and share the same values as me and want the same thing and blah, blah, blah. But guess what? I don't care about them. And quite frankly, I don't expect them to care about me. Because why would they? Why would I expect that of them? They're Venezuelans. I'm an American. You care about you, I care about me. We have enough of problems at home. Sorry. America first, dude. And I'm not convinced this is in America's interest. I would like to be wrong. I would love to be wrong, but I don't think I am. And I think the track record of our country proves that. Just a fun little tidbit. Now there's been no updates on this, but this just was a concerning tweet, I guess, a concerning thing. This was from the Japanese Ministry of Defense. They put this on their Twitter. This was 3 hours ago. A ballistic missile launch from North Korea is possible. We will inform you as soon as further reports come in. Now, that was 3 hours ago. I don't want to leave this stone unturned, so let's go over to their Twitter where they posted this from, and let's see if they have anything interesting as an update. Maybe as I say this, a Japanese missile flies into the studio and just fucking hits me dead on. Wouldn't that be funny? Let's see. The only thing they tweeted was right after that, and it said, it is estimated that, they said this is a reply to their own tweet. It is estimated that the object, which may be a ballistic missile launched from North Korea earlier, has already fallen. Oh, okay, good. So they tried to, I guess the North Koreans tried to fire something, and it failed. What the fuck? Thank God our adversaries have fucking Tonka toys for fucking military fucking equipment. Thank God. Whoo. Oh boy. All right, let me see if there's anything else in my notes that I wanted to talk about. We'll move on to our last subject, and then we'll close it out for the evening. Again, if you like the show, if you don't like the show, like and subscribe, talk shit, tell me I'm great, whatever. I'm trying to build a following because, yeah. Okay, let's see. I don't think I really have anything else. This was an interesting little tidbit from Tucker's podcast. He's talking to Douglas McGregor. He's a retired colonel. This might just be interesting to put in here. Let's listen. Let's take a listen.
Lady that just won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she's from Venezuela. And she said, if we're liberated by the U.S. Armed Forces and they remove Maduro, our first act will be to move the Venezuelan embassy to Jerusalem.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah. We already went over that pretty much. So, in her own words, which is obviously better. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not optimistic. If I'm being perfectly honest. If you haven't already picked that up already. I'm not optimistic. I hope for the best, obviously, because I would like to avoid World War III at all costs. I'm pretty confident in where I'm going, whenever this life ends, whether it ends in 50 years or 50 seconds. I'm pretty confident that I know where I'm going when this life ends. But listen, dude, this year's already starting out pretty shitty, but we got like 2 months until a month and a half until Resident Evil 9. I've got Wolverine coming out this year. I'm not that excited for Doomsday, but we got some cool shit on the path. I just got a PS5. Shout out to my aunt. I just got a PS5. I think, life is pretty cool. Stand-up's going pretty okay. I don't know, man. Life is dope if you make it. All right, life is pretty dope if you make it dope. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I think that's all I want to say about Venezuela. My last topic that I want to go on, it's just something that I've been seeing lately, and I know a lot of you have seen it too, I feel like, in various degrees. And of course, the algorithm acts the way it does, so if I see one video about this, there's like 10 more that come up. when did I first hear about this? It was before New Year's. I want to say it was like the week of Christmas, maybe a little bit before. There's a lot of chatter on the internet right now, and people like Elon Musk, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that fucking quitter, Theo Vaughn. A lot of people are talking about this, that there's going to be I don't even know what to call it, but there's going to be a protest. Now that we're in tax season officially, right? From now until like April 12th, April 15th, there's going to be some kind of protest when it comes to people filing their taxes. As before I go into this, let me see if there's anything in the chat that's... Yeah, perfect. Yeah, don't let a good crisis go to waste. That one. Right. Yeah, this shit is... What's up, Cardo? Jason? Joey, what's up, buddy? Okay. So... Yeah, don't let a good crisis go to waste. Fucking real shit. All right, so, yeah, the taxes thing. Okay, so there's a lot of people that are claiming, no pun intended, there's a lot of people that are claiming that they're not going to file their taxes in this tax season that we're currently in, and that they're going to file exempt. And there's been a lot of, not a lot, I've seen a couple of accountants replying to reels, replying to stuff, just seeing screenshots, and you know what I mean? Where they're saying that they're seeing a massive influx of people filing exempt. Now, if any of you guys know me at any level, you know that I'm not a numbers guy, I'm not a money guy. That's not my area of expertise. Even if I have an area of expertise, it's outside of comic books, it's not that. But the way I understand it is that you have the option to not pay your taxes in the beginning of the year. But then when tax season comes the following year, you have to pay like the lump sum of whatever you would owe. But most people just have their, have their companies pull out their taxes for them so they don't have to. So I guess a lot of people were planning on not doing that. Let's see. Let's ask ChatGPT. Is it legally required to pay taxes in the United States of America? Please go into detail. Oh my goodness, I can't spell. Detail. ChatGPT is thinking. And I think it's just interesting that it's gotten to the point where people, in some way, shape, because, people are very bombastic, I guess you could put it. People are very, how do I put it? They're exaggerated on the internet. But at least in some way, people are considering not doing this. So basically, ChatGPT is saying yes. Yeah, you have to fucking pay taxes. Basically, what this is saying. Constitutionality of a income tax, I think, is bullshit. I think most taxes are bullshit, but whatever. People who make, quote, tax protester arguments routinely lose in court and often face penalties. Yeah, so voluntary compliance. You may hear the IRS describe the tax system as one of voluntary compliance. This does not mean taxes are optional. It means you're expected to self-report income. You calculate and file your own taxes. The government does not pre-calculate your bill, though increasingly could. Failure to comply can trigger enforcement actions. So, and who is legally required to pay? U.S. citizen, U.S. resident or lawful permanent resident, a non-resident who earns U.S.-sourced income, a business entity operating in the U.S. Consequences are civil penalties and criminal charges. Yeah, this is just going into a lot of detail about why you have to pay taxes, which, I mean, I kind of figured, but, might as well ask anyway. Oh, we got Maduro coming in. Let's see. This is Maduro getting perp walked. Happy New Year. Fucking, woo. That's a rough one, isn't it? So, yes, pay your taxes. But I just, just kind of like thinking out loud here. I didn't really prepare much for this topic, but I think it's interesting that people are getting to the point where they realize that our system is so broken that we should stop funding it. And then obviously when you're talking about this, you have to come, at least in my opinion, you have to start from a basis that money is fungible, right? Money truly is not trackable, where you give it to, right? Like if we see this with the military industrial complex, we see this with the healthcare, the healthcare industrial complex. I mean, we see this with fucking like Israel, right? Like one thing I forgot to bring up with Venezuela is that Netanyahu's on the record saying that Venezuela props up and funds Hamas. Well, motherfucker, you're doing the same exact thing. You've been giving them money through Qatar. So money's fungible. You know what I mean? And I just think, like, I saw a guy that was talking about this and he was saying that it's like only 1 in 10 Americans have to not pay their taxes and the whole thing falls apart. I did see a complete bullshit post that was going viral. Not that I'm going to stop from anything going viral, but I did see something going viral where the guy was saying like, well, if enough of us don't pay taxes, then basically the system has to bend the knee to the American taxpayer and blah, blah, blah. If anybody ever tells you that, short of killing politicians, let's just be completely clear about this. If anybody tells you that due to actions of American citizens, the American government has to bend the knee forcibly about anything, they're fucking lying to you and they are retarded. They are retards. Get them out of your life. They are stupid. They are taking away from your brain cells. They are retarded. Okay, that's not how the American government works, obviously, right? I think that it's interesting that a lot of people are strongly considering not paying their taxes. As far as me personally, I mean, am I going to probably end up paying my taxes? Yeah, there's a 99.9% chance that I'm going to pay my fucking taxes. But as far as the upcoming, this tax season that we're in, I'm not going to file exempt just because, it's probably not a good idea. But I will say this, as far as filing my taxes, I'm going to wait. I might file an extension just to see how this thing plays out. Like in all honesty, I was going to file my taxes this weekend because I would really like to get a refund. If I even get one, I would like to get some kind of refund. And I have a lot of expenses from the year to write off. But, I would just, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait to see what happens. I don't know. Curious to see what you guys think about it. I'd imagine that 100% of the people watching this episode are going to pay their taxes because none of us are rich enough to fucking, unless there's a billionaire watching that I don't know about. Hit my line. I'll give you my Cash App. I have debt. Please help me. But I'd have to imagine that all of us are going to pay our taxes. Let's be fucking honest about this. I don't know, man. Okay, that's our show for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed. If you like the show, please, I am trying to build a social media presence. That's why I'm posting more on my Instagram. I'm trying to get better about Reels and like YouTube Shorts and all that bullshit. I'm trying to get better about it. I'm sick of being a comedian without a following, so I'm trying to take that more seriously this year. If you like what you saw, please like the episode, subscribe, comment so you have a lasting impact on the engagement. If you feel like it is worth watching amongst your friends, please share the episode and the show with anyone that you see fit. Like I said, coming up on the 24th, there is going to be a show at Two Cranes here in Albuquerque. It's off of fucking like Rio Grande or some shit. I'll post it on my Instagram. And then I'll be on a Don't Tell next month, but I'll post that closer too. Those always sell out, so get tickets. If you're a comedy club watching, please book me. I am good. I am a funny comic. I want to do more stand-up. I will drive upwards of fucking 12 hours to do 5 minutes. Believe me. So, thank you everyone for listening and watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will see you next time. Got a great episode coming out on Monday with Mikey Mays, local Albuquerque comics. You're going to fucking love that episode. We will see you guys live next Saturday, hopefully in the morning. All right. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.